Hey everyone, in the last video I alluded to one of our dream scenarios that we kind of wanted to accomplish and execute, and so here in this video I'll be walking through what that kind of looks like. Kind of what we did is we wanted to combine our love of fantasy sports and the trading card game into one and do kind of like a season, year long, and actually turning into multi-year long fantasy draft of a bunch of cards and go through kind of each block as one season. So what we initially did is we got a sealed box of Fellowship, sealed box of Mines, sealed box of Realms of the Elf Lords, booster boxes, and then added a Fellowship Anthology on top of it, took the Tangor cards out, and we just sat down and we opened all of them. Kind of tabulated it all, organized it, saw what we had, and then took all of those cards and then put it into kind of a draft format. And what you're looking at here is the results of the draft, which has kind of already begun. What we did is once we kind of tabulated everything here in a Google Sheet, we gave everything kind of a pre-ranking like you would in fantasy. Like, all right, this is the best card that we have. This is kind of your 1/1. And then we split it up into Free Peoples and Shadow, and then we just kind of did a randomization of whose turn it was, and then just did a snake draft throughout. So you can kind of see here the very first pick overall for Fellowship. It's right here, and then it kind of kept going down. We kind of instituted the rules of drafting and fantasy sports where you can kind of trade draft picks. You can trade up for other years and so on and so forth. So you can trade any sort of cards you might have, positions you might have, draft picks you might have to form essentially what is a fully built roster. And I'll give you an example here. So a roster will consist of about 100 cards. It's 100 cards plus the ring, plus a site. And then what you do with those 100 cards is you build a deck based off of those 100 cards that you want to play with. It can be kind of any sort of maximum, any sort of minimum. Obviously, you don't want to go too small. You want to be smart. You need to follow the same rules, to have same amount of Free People, same amount of Shadow. But with that deck, then you play in a year-long season, and you can put cards to your starting slots as much as you want. You can put some to your bench. As long as you have 100 cards or less during the season, you're good to go. Then all the cards that weren't drafted go into free agency. And what free agency is it's this list here of all the cards that nobody drafted in the fantasy draft. There's a Free Peoples, there's a Shadow, there's a Site. And just like free agency, you have a budget of a certain amount of dollars. It's not real dollars, it's just fake dollars, in which you can add and drop cards. So if you realize that you're short on companions and you need Gandalf the Grey Wizard, you can bid $1 essentially to pick up Gandalf and drop another card. If somebody else bids that same amount, though, or for the same card, then it's the person who bids the most money out of their free agency budget who gets the card. In case of tie, there's a waiver order that's determined as well. But there's a whole list of cards that are free agents that you can pick up and drop throughout the season, as long as you have kind of the free agency dollars to do it. And then what the season looks like, I'll flip over to the schedules tab here, is there's going to be 20 games total. Everybody's going to play 10 of them. And they're 3-player games, so you're going to have somebody who's a winner, you're going to have somebody who's a runner-up, and you have somebody who's a loser. You get 2 points for winning, you get 1 point for being the runner-up, you get no points for losing. Then there's standings that will come out of those 20 games, and then once those games are up, the person who is in last place is going to play the first and second place teams, and then 3, 4, and 5 will all play each other. In the 1, 2, 6 games in that run of the playoffs, the top 2 seeds will advance. The top 2 winners, who had the loser of that game, will drop out. And then the 3, 4, 5 game, the winner will advance to play the winner in the running up of the other game. And then whoever wins that final game is kind of the winner. And we're trying to play these 20 games throughout what's going to be the rest of the calendar year. And then what we'll do once we're done is I kind of mentioned earlier how we're gonna do draft picks for you can like trade draft picks for next year. You can trade cards throughout the season, whatever it is. If you feel like that you had a really bad draft year, if you're just losing all your games, you could tank. You could tank for better picks. You could trade your cards for picks in the next year's draft. And then what next year will do is we'll do the same exact thing except with towers. We'll take a box of 2 towers, box of Battle Helm for Helm's Deep, box of Ents of Fangorn, and then Towers Anthology, open them all, and then do a whole nother draft and add an additional 100 cards to the 100 that we already have. And then we'll do it again for King the following year. So we'll be building multiple decks through multiple years, building like a whole kind of fantasy team of these fantasy cards, as kind of funny as that is. And we'll be building on your success from one year to the next, seeing what kind of strategies are good one year but then aren't good the next year, and then just trying to maybe you try to tank for King and you try to win only the King season, but the other 2 seasons you're just trying to set up drafting as good Sauron stuff, or maybe Gondor Knights fortifications, or maybe you're saving up to do some sort of Gollum thing. There's a whole lot of options that are really interesting, and with 6 different players and 3-player games, it'll be really fun to kind of see how it turns out and what it looks like. We'll probably be doing some recordings of some of the games during the season, so kind of be on the lookout for those being posted as well. And once we get to the playoffs, we'll definitely be recording like the championship and probably the semis as well, just to see how it goes, and what kind of decks are strong, what strategies work in this kind of environment and what don't, and then just how things work out throughout kind of the season. So yeah, that's kind of just an overview of what we're looking at here. Any questions or comments, feel free to post something, reach out, ask. I think this is a fun and pretty unique way to treat the game, and something that I've always wanted to try and that we're kind of finally executing on. So if there's anything that you're like, hey, no, this seems like fun, I'd like to do this, I'd love to give you pointers or collaborate. We're going to start playing these games soon, so be on the lookout for more recordings in the future and kind of some of the playbacks of the games. Might even do some commentary over them. We'll kind of see. Thanks for watching, though, and we'll catch you next time.